progress.
We'll call this meeting to order. This is Weber County Commission meeting today. What is the date today?
Today's the 13th. 13th.
13th. Tuesday the 13th. Well, we welcome you all here. We have a pledge today by Mariko Rollins from the I Sheet. The invocation will be given by Sean Wilkinson. And the thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Farrar.
Wow, I should have read it.
Yeah. So we'll go to that point. Mariko.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before Thee this morning, we thank Thee for the snow that we are receiving. We're grateful for the amount we've received thus far and pray that it may continue throughout this winter season, that we may have our needs met in the coming spring and summer months. And we thank Thee for the many blessings that we receive as citizens here in Weber County. We recognize that there are those among us who are dealing with difficult things. We pray that we may each be inspired to be helpful, to be kind, and to look for ways to improve ourselves while we improve our community. We're grateful for this time of the year when we reflect on peace and joy and brotherly love to those around us. May that spirit fill our hearts and help us to go about doing good. And we ask for this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Chair, my thoughts also go toward this time of year as we celebrate the true meaning of Christmas, the birth of our Savior Jesus Christ, and how important that is to all of us, regardless of your background and what your political, religious affiliation may be. That's really the true meaning of Christmas. But it's also a time, Mr. Chair, where I think it's appropriate that we give thanks. We give thanks for our family, our friends. It's a time that we can join with them and celebrate for a number of reasons. And it gives us that opportunity just to give a great deal of thanks to those that have supported us this past year and past number of years. And I think it's appropriate at this time that I felt it was appropriate we give thanks to all the people that work hard for Weber County, our employees that give the best in customer public service. In the last 4 years, I've experienced a really radical change in what I've seen in this county building, and the ability for our public servants, elected and employees, as they view what's important to this county, which is the citizens that elect us, that we serve. But I'd be amiss, Mr. Chair, if I didn't give thanks to yourself and Commissioner Harvey. In my opinion, it's been a great team for 4 years. We haven't always agreed, but we've come away with a philosophy that we can disagree without being disagreeable. In fact, I had a comment from the public just this last weekend that said, we really appreciate the commissioners, which we don't get much appreciation, so I do pay note of that occasionally. But they said, we really appreciate you as commissioners being able to enjoy each other, come out with a common goal in mind, which again is public service, and make sure that the job you're doing is in our best interest. And I thought that was inappropriate, but I wanted to give thanks to both Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Jenkins, saying it's been a great 4 years. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to the next 4 years. As I told Commissioner Jenkins earlier, we're going to miss him very much. He's been a great team member, been a great leader, but I want to give him the best wishes for the period of time he's about to enter, which I think is going to be very exciting and beneficial to him. That's my thought, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's a wonderful thought. It'll be sad, won't it? Just a little, though. Just a little sad. It'll be good. I'm getting ready to go. You look like you're getting ready to launch into something, Commissioner Harvey.
No, I'm just thinking about all the little one-liners we've heard from this dais from you, and it's, I'm gonna miss those.
Well, thank you. You know, I'm going to give you a dark chocolate biscuit.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Courtesy of Miranda. She
Why,
just
thank
dropped
you,
these
Miranda.
off, and we used to get these down to the Senate once in a while, and this is straight from England on her horse. She brought it in on it.
What is it? Does it say Miranda's on it?
No.
Mandy's.
Yeah, Mandy's by Miranda. Wow. Anyway, have a dark chocolate biscuit.
Why, thank you.
And pass it down, see if the attorneys want one. All right. We now have time for public comment. If you'd like to comment on something that's on the agenda today, we'd love to hear from you. Please, now would be your time to stand up and come forward and comment. Love to hear from you, right now.
Oh, here we go.
Santa Claus herself, Mrs. Claus.
I think I'd better explain. We are later on the agenda, Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District, and those cookies are just a gesture not to bribe you, not to persuade you to take the action that I hope you are going to take, but we are deeply grateful for the opportunity to work with the commissioners and to receive this funding for, we believe it's $2.6 million, and it is going to be put to good use, putting in water and sewer infrastructure in the Upper Valley. We thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Brenda. We appreciate it. Some people we work a lot with here as they are doing their business, and Miranda's one of those. Over the years, we've spent a lot of time together in a lot of meetings, and we haven't always agreed, but we've always been very complimentary to each other, and we've worked well with each other, and in the end, we ended up with a good product, didn't we? So we're excited about that. I know as a commission, we're very excited about what you're doing for the Upper Valley. All right, anybody else? Mr. Jolly, how are you?
I don't know if everybody knows me as Jolly, right?
Okay, Mr. Rogers.
So Ryan Rogers, Taylor West Weber Water Improvement District. On your action agenda, there's an item for approval of and action to take place for Cherokee Farms subdivision PRUD. The request of Taylor West Weber Water, if Taylor West Weber Water is the culinary provider for this subdivision, there's several items that have not been met. Escrow for the culinary water on-site, escrow for the culinary water off-site, escrow for pressurized secondary water, transfer water rights to ensure they stay with the subdivision. Signature block needs to be on the recorded plat and signed by Taylor West Weber Water before it's recorded. Plan review fees need to be paid. Both pressurized developmental agreement and off-site developmental agreement need to be recorded with the plat. And last but not least, a final approval letter needs to be submitted from Taylor West Weber Water before it is recorded, if we're the culinary provider. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Others who'd care to comment? Mr. Blanche. Good to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Brad Blanche, 736 South, 4700 West, West Weber, representing Cherokee Farms. Before I say anything, I want to thank Commissioner Jenkins and the Commission generally for all the work that you do and all that you do in the future. This Cherokee Farms project we were reminiscing a bit ago has spanned even before Commissioner Harvey's time. So this has been a lengthy process, to say the very least. A couple things I want to offer is that we've met all the standards and requirements that are required by Weber County, both in terms of survey, engineering, etc. I personally don't have a preference one way or the other whether Taylor West Weber Water has a signature block on plat, but I want to make sure that it's noted to the commission that it's not in county ordinance that be the case. So we're doing the best we can, as you know, to move forward. We have, I think, all the approvals that are necessary in place and ready to move forward. Last thing I want to offer, because it comes up regularly, is with regards to a second access. The Weber County Fire Marshal approved the development for a second fire apparatus access, which is required so that the homes don't have to be sprinkle irrigated. I've shared with both the planning office as well as the engineering office that the district court has also adjudicated that right-of-way to be 20-foot right-of-way, that it can't be restricted, gates can't be locked, that I can improve it at any time that I choose to, and it's not limited just to agriculture per the district court. So just wanted to offer that background information.
Very good, thank you. Others would care to? Notice how slow he walks up to the mic.
Well, he's old.
Methodical.
Jed McCormick. I live adjacent to Cherokee, and I'm here as a concerned citizen. And I'm not anti-growth, I'm not anti-development, and I'm not an NIMBY. And so I've did some research on the project out there, and Mr. Blanch spoke about the easement that he's got going down for the fire access. And that's a portion that I disagree with. I talked to the fire marshal. He did approve it. He had never seen it. And there are two corners on that that are 90-degree angles. And there's no way they could get those fire trucks down there if the property was fenced. And my guess is as soon as it's not just for agricultural that those people will fence theirs. And that's one thing that I'd like you to consider today. And maybe just table this and go down, take a look at it yourself, and look at it with the fire marshal. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Jed. You know, we kind of poke at Jed a little bit, but we went to school with him, so we have the right to do that. Others who'd care to comment? All right, we'll close this portion of our meeting and go to the very next items. Consent items are as listed. Let's see. I got to get to the other one here. Yep. Item 1 is request for approval to ratify warrants as listed today in the amount of $1,288,591. Item 2 is approval for warrants as listed today in the amount of $1,361,836. Item 3 is approval to ratify purchase orders in the amount of $329,073, dated December 6th. Item 4 is request for approvals of purchase orders in the amount of $239,711. And a summary of those. Would you like to read those, Lynn?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. So 2 weeks worth. For the December 6 warrants, we had 180 totaling $1.29 million. Largest of these, 23% or $309,000, was the treasurer for trust and escrow disbursements, and 8% or $104,000 for capital equipment, contracted service, and utilities. For the December 13th, 247 warrants totaling $1.36 million, 46% or just under $600,000 to the transfer station for capital equipment and maintenance, and 10% or $127,000 to the jail for culinary, hospital, and medical services, utilities, housekeeping, and maintenance. For the purchase orders, December 6th, 19 purchase orders totaling $329,000. Largest of these, 22% or $71,000 to the transfer station for tree grinding for compost, temporary employees, and diesel fuel. Another 22% or $71,000 to the jail for jail pumps upgrade and replacement, key card access add-on, and radio multi-unit chargers. We had two other items, 12% each for $40,000, one for IT for replacement laptops for the sheriff and commissioners, and also to elections, laptops for use in elections. And then finally, for December 13th, 16 purchase orders totaling just under $240,000. Largest of these, 39% or $92,000 to the jail for a mixer, oven, and braising pan for the jail. And 37% or $89,600 to the sheriff for software, laptop computers, a drone, furniture, and tools. And finally, 13% or $31,000 to the Golden Spike Event Center for utility vehicles.
Very good. This is a couple of big payments this time. We've been through them previously. Any questions?
Nope.
No?
All right. Item 6 is approval of the ACH payments from U.S. Bank in the amount of $239,777. Item 7 is a request for the approval of the minutes of the meeting held November 15th of 2022. Item 8 is a request for approval of new business licenses. Item 9 is a request for approval of amendment to a contract by and between Weber County and the Western States Productions. Item 10 is a request for a approval of a right-of-way contract by and between Weber County and Francisco Solis Maria Olivares Vinyl Guys to for corridor preservation along 2550 South. Well, that was a mouthful. Item 11 is a request for a approval of right-of-way contract by between Weber County and Norm Hammer to pave existing dirt road and pipe in the ditch along 2200 North. Item 12 is a request for approval of right-of-way contract by and between Weber County and Stephen Wayman to pave dirt road on 2200 North. Item 13 is a request for approval to approve one-time Utah Universal Opioid Settlement Memorandum of Understanding. Item 14 and 15 are being pulled off the agenda today. Item 16 is a request for approval of a contract by between Weber County and MTN Ops LLC for sponsorship of the Weber County Archery Park. Item 17 is a request for approval of a contract by between Weber County and Kerry Christensen for entertainment at the 2023 German Hof German Fest. And item 18 is a request for a contract by between Weber County and Salzburg Echo for entertainment at the 2023 Hof German Fest. Commissioners, any comments on those? Would either of you like to make a motion?
Well, in keeping with the last two items on the consent,
Uh-huh.
Commissioner, I moved that we could, the items on F like Foxtrot 1 through and including item 18 except for number 14 and 15, which have been removed.
Well, I'll have to second that one, in that German accent, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So we've got a motion and a second on the consent items as listed with 14 and 15 removed. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. They're approved. Very good. Okay, action items on the agenda today. First one is a request for approval of contract by between Weber County and Rex Weston for the bee inspection services. Jennifer Graham.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I am just kind of facilitating this for the USU. It's actually Weber County that does contract with the bee inspector, but it is part of their overall budget, which you approve separately. So this is in budget. And this is a 5-year contract to extend with our current beekeeper, Rex Weston. And he is the one that goes out and inspects all the apiaries and helps the beekeepers if they have any questions. So And I also have, and I'm sorry, I'm going to try to pronounce your last name, Cody Zessiger here with USU, who would have any, if you have any questions about the beekeeping inspection process or anything to do with that.
So we've had Rex on the agenda before. He's a personal friend, and he's
good.
done this for years. And I think he's actually done a pretty good job.
Done a great job.
Yeah. So we pay him the total tidy sum of not much.
Not much. It's more of a stipend,
Yeah.
It's
Just barely more, though.
barely,
Yeah. He. Anyway.
with the
Not many
mileage and
people
such
do
that he
this,
puts
but
in.
will. And frankly, if you want to raise bees out here, that's, it's good to have somebody like this to go out and tell you why your hive moved or what you've done to. I had a brother who had a hive, and one day he walked out and it was gone. I mean, the bees had just left. And it's like, where did these things all go? Well, when he looked at the vent of the neighbor's roof, it was encapsulated with bees. And there they all were.
There they were,
Good
huh?
night. What do I do? How am I going to get them from there to here? Anyway, it was just interesting to see how this all happened. So, with that, I'm open for a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I'll move that we approve the contract between Weber County and Rex Weston for the inspection services of bees.
And I'd second that with a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So this is just another example of our great partnership with USU. We have Cody in the back that's obviously done a great job, and since I've been involved with Cody and USU a little bit the last couple of years, he's educated me on a number of things, including weeds, and he's also made the comment about how important this is just one element of what we do here in Weber County to help our citizens that raise bees. So it's another great service we provide.
Cody,
And-
we're lucky to have Cody.
We are.
Oh,
And Naomi back there, of course,
Like I say, don't leave Naomi out of this.
Naomi takes credit for a lot of this, but it's just a great partnership we have here in Weber County with Utah State.
Let's see.
And that, I have.
Naomi is
and-
Cody's boss, isn't she?
She is, yeah. In the interest of disclosure, I need to make sure you understand I was a graduate of Utah State, so I don't.
Oh.
you just didn't get an 8 weeks participation certificate.
No, I didn't get that, no.
That's good. All
But anyway,
right.
that's a second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 It's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next item is request for approval of a legislative pass-through agreement by and between Weber County and the State of Utah Department of Facilities and Construction Management, DCFM, for the Weber County Sports Complex ice sheet DFCM project number 20400-300. Mariko Rollins.
Good morning.
Thanks, Mariko, for being here.
Thanks for having me. This agreement is a pass-through funding agreement to receive $800,000 previously awarded to the facility to make our ice sheet games ready for a 2030 or 2034 Olympic bid. As you may know from news distributed last week, the state is now pursuing a combined 2030 and 2034 bid, which is all the more reason for us to get on this project, continue with our design efforts, and begin remodeling our locker rooms, which is all included in these two agreements before you.
So from what I've seen out of the news, who is they? It was reported, let me say this. That they think that this combined concept that they're having right now might actually lend itself to help us in our effort. Is that the way you look at it?
I think that's the way it's been portrayed to me. I don't think any of us can predict the future, and none of us
Yeah.
can predict the minds of the IOC, but it's our duty, and my duty specifically, to create a healthy environment for our guests now and in the future. So we'll see how the bid actually shakes out.
All right, any comments, commissioners?
No,
I'm ready for a motion.
had this discussion.
Commissioner Harvey, this is your portfolio.
I'd recommend that we approve this agreement between Weber County and the Utah Department of Facilities and Construction Management for that study.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Mariko. Item 3 is a request for approval of a rental agreement by and between Weber County and the Grand Theater for a performance of Ogden Musical Theater 5 Carols for Christmas to be performed at the Grand Theater. Cassie Bybee.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning. Okay, this is an agreement between the Grand Theater and ours. We actually take the show ready down to the Grand, and they have 6 performances down at the Grand Theater in Salt Lake. So they're paying us $10,000 to take the show on the road down to them. So we open on the 16th, on Friday, down there, and we will run through the 22nd of December with Ogden Musical Theater.
You did this last year, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Well, that tickles me, Commissioner.
That's great.
It just goes to show you that the talent and the things that we do up here at the Peters Egyptian under Cassie's direction is sought after by the folks in Salt Lake and other parts of the state. So it's really an easy deal. If you're ready, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this agreement between Weber County and the Grand Theater for the talent for the 5 carols.
Be happy to second that.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's
Thank you.
approved. Thanks, Cassie.
Thank you.
All right, item 4 is request for approval of a subrecipient agreement by and between Weber County and Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District for American Rescue Plans, ARPA funding. Sean Wilkinson.
Thank you, Commissioners. You've heard a little bit about this from Miranda already this morning. But this is an agreement with Wolf Creek Water and Sewer District to provide ARPA funds in the amount of $2.6 million. This is for 2 separate projects that Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District is working on up in the Ogden Valley right now. One is a culinary water well, and the ask for that was about $750,000. And the other is a sewer effluent reuse pond. So the treated sewer effluent would be pumped to this reuse pond, and it could be used for irrigation water. And the ask for that is about $1.9 million. So when we look at those are approximate. The total that Weber County will give is $2.6 million. The costs that were put forth in the application for the reuse pond was $5.5 million, and for the culinary well was about $2.7 million. So we're funding just portions of these projects, and Wolf Creek will fund portions and also look for other ways to fund these projects. So we feel these are good uses of the ARPA dollars. They're viable projects. In addition to that, Wolf Creek has partnered with some other developers up in the Ogden Valley to expand sewer service. You've seen that agreement, and we look forward to what may come from that partnership and how we can help bring more sewer to the valley. So,
You know, Sean, I view this as monumental. This is the expansion and the beginning of a spine of sewer that will run up that major portion of the valley through Eden. This will help the water quality of the dam. This will eventually expand into other areas, and I couldn't be happier, Miranda, with what you've done in Wolf Creek Sewer and Water. I just couldn't be happier. Commissioners, other of you care to say anything here?
Be happy to, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think as we have dealt with these ARPA fund requests over the past year, seems like longer than that, but, and obviously the directions coming from the Treasury Department were very directed toward water, sewer, and broadband. And I think this project, as we reviewed it, met all those specifications. And we've done a number of, I think we had close to 20 or more requests for ARPA funds. And in my opinion, this is one of the benefactors, the one that's proven their case. And again, I just want to make sure people understand, especially from the Valley, there's been discussion that it's our intent to put sewer through the entire Valley. And I couldn't say that that's entirely false. That's not our intent. My personal opinion is that I think it'll be a long time, if ever, we see public sewer in the entire valley. But what we do want to do is put infrastructure in place where we feel the development should be. This is the first, I think, leg in that process as we see infrastructure being put in select areas. Not through the entire valley, but in select areas. And partnership with Wolf Creek Water and Sewer, with the developers, as you mentioned. This really starts that process. We'll see where it goes from here, but I just want to be very public. That's not the intent to go through the entire valley. We don't, number one, we don't have that amount of money. Number two, that's not what the intent of the general master plan of the valley is, but it is the intent of the village concept, which has been accepted by the Planning Commission, been accepted. It was actually put into writing in 2017. So I think that we followed that general plan in 2017. This is the first step in that, and I appreciate Miranda and her group working with us as we've worked through this fairly long project.
Mr. Chair, you know, one of the things I've been fortunate to learn is making sure the health of the people in Weber County are taken care of. That came to a very focused light during the last couple of years during the pandemic, but more so even before then as it pertains to water and water source. We know the Ogden Upper Valley have had residents up there for years and years, and they've never enjoyed any kind of a sewer treatment per se for a whole, but this allows us to take a positive action so that the grandchildren of our grandchildren can be assured that they'll have safe water to drink from that storage or Pineview Reservoir by these kind of actions. And it's this, along with districts working together to make sure that in the future that we have, we were protecting our water source so that those old septic systems are eventually over time moved over to a smarter way, especially in the village areas. And you know, this is, to me, this represents an opportunity that we have locally to take some monies that were given federally to positively affect not just the people who live in the Ogden Upper Valley, but all those who might be a benefactor or receive water in the Lower Valley. So this is a huge thing, and I'm grateful that these districts have chosen, at least in concept, to work together, and hopefully that'll facilitate even stronger relationships in the future. So, Sean, thanks for your work on this. Ms. Menzies, thank you for your work, and your board. I know your board's had a lot to do with this, and good work. So I'm ready.
If I may also, I'd like to thank Chris Crockett for his work. He's the architect of this agreement, and he and his staff have done a lot of work on this.
I'll say that Chris Crockett, the best civil attorney that in the history of the state of Utah.
Miranda?
I'd just like to add one thing. I appreciate your good words, gentlemen, but the reuse pond actually also serves a key role in helping us deal with the secondary water issue, and the well serves a key role in dealing with the culinary water issue we had that led to a moratorium. So I just wanted to add that this is a win-win-win in multiple directions, but particularly to our existing customers, especially those that have recorded lots who we had to ask to wait before they built. And I'd just like to thank them for their patience, and to thank you gentlemen for helping us out so that we can fulfill our responsibility to provide water to those folks who have recorded lots. The funding does not allow for increased development. It helps us to cope with the development we already have that was created over the last 40 years by prior developers and the current developer. So I'd just like to add that. So thank you again for your assistance to us in fulfilling our responsibilities and taking care of the health and well-being of many, many people. We appreciate it.
Good to know.
Commissioner Farrar, this is something your area. Would you like to make that motion?
I'd be happy to. So I would move approval of a sub-recipient agreement by and between Weber County and Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District for the American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, SLFRA funds, or F funds, in the amount of 2.6 as presented by Mr. Wilkinson.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Well, that's good. All right, item 5 is request for removal or approval of first reading of fee ordinance amendments related to residential solid waste collection and disposal fees. Sean Wilkinson.
Thank you. Commissioner, as you mentioned, this is the first reading of a fee ordinance amendment, and this ordinance adjusts the fee schedule for residential solid waste collection and disposal services currently provided by Republic Services in Western Weber County and the Uinta Highlands. The amendment is necessary to account for the 3% annual increase in the county's municipal materials management agreement. And in addition to the annual increase, Republic Services is requesting a fuel surcharge of 57 cents per customer per month, as described in Section 7.3 of that agreement. Weber County will offset that fuel service charge by reducing the county administrative fee by 57 cents per customer per month. So the only increase will be the annual 3%.
So, Sean, we're making this change right now, but we're expecting that they're going to be back here with another fee increase in the matter of weeks.
So that is true, and unfortunately, we will have to come and amend the ordinance again at that time. These are relating to different services.
They are.
So that's why we had to do this one right now. This one goes into effect January 1, and so we want to be ready for that.
Yeah, I'm a little upset at those guys that they haven't got us that information, but I realize they haven't got it yet.
Correct.
So,
we're just waiting.
Yeah, we're all just sitting waiting for, what is it?
Out of our ballpark.
Bits Trucking?
MBI, yeah,
MBI.
Mr. Bolts.
Yeah. I don't know.
But they've been after MBI for a number of
they have.
months.
Correct.
So we, my opinion would, let's at least do the right thing now, and then when their business model decides that they need to do whatever they're going to do. We've been waiting for a long time, and it could be weeks, but it could be months, could be years, the way they're moving, so.
Well, I guess we shouldn't worry about it, should we?
That's their business plan.
They haven't given it to us yet.
It's true.
I just, it'd been nice if we could have done this all in one swoop. but-
Agreed.
All right, Sean, commissioners, any questions?
For me.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve that first reading of the fee ordinance, amending the solid waste collection disposal services.
Second.
Very good, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Sean. Item 6 is a request for consideration of action on a request for final subdivision approval of Cherokee Farms. Number 1, a PRUD subdivision located at 700 North and 3600 West. Steve Burton.
Hi, Commissioners. A couple weeks ago, I had an issue showing this on the screen. I came down before and made sure we could do that. I don't know if it's okay. So let me.
We've seen it, Steve. We don't need to see it again.
This is. I don't know that you've seen this specific presentation just for this subdivision.
Oh.
But we've got. I had a few slides I wanted to go over with you just real quick. Here we go. So, Commissioners, this is a request for final approval of a 40-lot subdivision known as Cherokee Farms Phase 1. It's located out in the Western Weber planning area in the A2 zone, right off of 3600 West, right there along the Weber River, about 700 North. I've got an image here just to show you. Let me see if I do full screen. The approximate area, and then I also included 3600 West. So there was some road widening along 3600 West, and I want to make it known that the developer is required to pay the county back for some of that widening. That's a condition of approval today that you'll see.
How many years did it take to get that road figured out?
So this project was originally approved in, I believe, at the end of 2016. So 6 years.
Good night. That has been a lift beyond belief to do this.
Yeah, that was a requirement for this subdivision to move forward. Our subdivision codes say that you can't develop off of a substandard road, and so the developer is required to actually improve 3600 West all the way to this subdivision. So just wanted to point out another slide. This will be the first phase of around 200 lots. I've got it in red there, the approximate location of this phase. And here is an image of the plat that you're considering today. The Western Weber Planning Commission gave a recommendation for final approval on December 14th, 2021. Since then, the developer's been working on the final conditions of approval from the planning office, the engineering office, and the surveying office. I will mention that the developer came up earlier and said that all the requirements are met. They are not met. I want to make that clear. However, our subdivision ordinance does allow us to put this on your agenda and does allow you to consider it with conditions of approval so that all those items can be met.
Can you go through the process there so we all understand it? Because we've had a couple of people testify that we shouldn't approve this until those are met. So what's the process here?
So once the developer receives a recommendation from the Planning Commission for final approval, the county subdivision ordinance states that you can consider it at a meeting and you can place conditions of approval in order for the subdivision to get approved, as long as it's not recorded until all those items are met. If it helps, I've got 3. So I'll let you know. The planning office is recommending that you approve, subject to 3 conditions. One of them is that the developer provide a financial guarantee for on-site and off-site improvements. We don't have that yet. So normally our policy is we won't put this on your agenda until we have it, until everything's ready to sign. But like I mentioned, our subdivision code does allow this as an option to make it very specific conditions that are required before the subdivision plat can record. So they would be required to provide the county with a financial guarantee for 3600 West and for all the improvements of this phase. Again, we haven't received that funding yet. 2, that the developer pay the county back for right-of-way acquired for a widening of 3600 West. And 3, that the developer provide an unconditional final approval letter from Taylor West Weber Water, or that the district signs the final subdivision plat. The reason we require that is we want, once this records, we want to make sure people that are buying lots, when they build, that they have access to water, and it's the responsibility of the developer to provide that infrastructure. And so we want to make sure that the water district is comfortable with that infrastructure, since they're the ones that are going to be providing that service.
Well, the water district's not happy with it. They've just testified. So the fact that we approve this today does it in any way damage or hurt the water district? Does it sidestep their powers or responsibilities or their abilities to?
I can't speak for the water district. Mr. Rogers.
You're giving me advice as the county.
Yeah, and I will. Mr. Rogers got up and he did say that it needs to be done before it records. Was his wording, but I can't say whether or not it hurts them. In my opinion, as long as this does not record until they've given final approval, it doesn't hurt the water district.
Subject to approval.
Right.
Or subject, record before it records.
But we do want them to be we want them to be happy. We want them to either sign the Mylar or give us an unconditional final approval that says this thing's good to record.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, I've got some questions for Mr. Burton.
Go ahead.
I'm interested in I want to look. I love doing. If people are trying to develop their property, and I don't like to see government get in the way of that. I think they ought to be able to develop it the way that especially when we get planning approval and we get approval from you guys. But what concerns me is that I don't want to set a precedence in Weber County because we do something for one developer that we don't do for others. So my question is, having sat on the dais now for a number of years, these three conditions that you've just laid out, when you bring those subdivisions, other subdivisions before us, have those conditions all been met?
That's not necessarily the case. There are subdivisions where, I think of one that was done in the Ogden Valley a few months ago by a pretty large developer up in that area, where we did this same thing. We brought it to you. It is in our ordinance to allow it. Like I said, normally our policy is, let's not put it on the commission agenda until it's absolutely ready. But the ordinance does allow this to happen with conditions, and it's up to the planning office and the engineering office to make sure that all those conditions are met before it records. But no, this isn't the only subdivision that we've done this for.
Appreciate your being forthright and open with that. Tell me then, what if all those conditions are not met and something accelerates beyond that, and does it end up getting into a legal battle?
It can, but if the conditions are not met, the planning office won't allow the subdivision to record.
In addition, my office would not be legally able to sign it because we haven't reviewed a financial guarantee agreement. I don't believe the engineer would be able to sign it either.
3 others who would not sign it. So, Steve, the question I have is, the water districts come to us a couple weeks ago and said they felt like we were working against them instead of with them. Do you view this as working against water districts to approve a subdivision like this? I mean, they're just one more approval process in the chain, aren't they?
So the developer has a responsibility to make sure that the water company is happy if he wants to use their water. Right. I do not view this as working against the water company, as long as the county makes sure that this plat doesn't record until they get a final approval. The water company, we appreciate and want their advice, but we don't necessarily have to follow their policies. If they say that the county shouldn't grant a subdivision approval, we can't really help that. If they don't want us to grant an approval, that's tough. But I would say I don't believe this works against the water district at all. As long as we do not allow this to record, the water district won't have people knocking on their door when they're ready to build, to hopefully get building permits, because they can't, because the plat hasn't recorded yet.
Yeah, a couple questions, if I might, Steve. So the first question has to do with the requirement that the developer pay back the county. I believe it's around $81,000 or so. So did you say that was a financial guarantee, or was that payment as one of the conditions? I want to make sure that's clear, that I don't want to kick that $81,000 down the road anymore. Let's get it paid.
Yeah, that is a condition. That's a condition of approval. It was number 2, that the developer pay the county back for right-of-way acquired for the widening of 3600 West before the subdivision plat records. All conditions have to be met before the subdivision plat records.
I just want to make it, you talked about financial guarantee. The financial guarantee with escrow is for future improvements. That has to be paid.
Yes,
is that correct. Clear in your conditions?
It is, yep. 2 separate conditions, one that he pays us back, and 2 that he provides a financial guarantee for everything else. Okay, and I'm comfortable with your conditions, and I'm comfortable proceeding, knowing those conditions are in place. As a reformed developer in the past, I think it's important that we understand that we have a duty to those future buyers of those lots to make sure they have a couple of things. Water and sewer are pretty important. And I don't want the county to come back in and be involved with lawsuits or accusations that we've approved anything without those. That's not our job, that's the developer's job. And I want to make sure that's very clear to the developer in the future, that those we take that seriously, and that I don't think it's proper for the county to override that at any point in time. And whether it's the fire district that makes a decision, or whether it's Taylor West Weber for the water, we need to have concurrence on that. My last question has to do with Mr. McCormick's question about the Weber Fire District not approving
those access for fire trucks? Is that, do we have anything in writing? That concerns me that we have a subdivision without fire access. That's almost as critical as water.
So my understanding from Mr. McCormick's comment was he actually said that the fire district did approve that access.
Okay.
And we've got on record that the fire district has approved that as an emergency egress road, a fire apparatus road, they call it.
Okay. All right. Well, I just make sure we have that in our documentation. If that's not, I would say that needs to be part of the conditions for the future, that we do have something in writing from the fire district.
Yes, I can tell you we do have that in writing.
Okay,
from the
you
fire
have that.
district.
Okay. That's it, Mr. Chair, for me.
Well, I just want to make sure we're covered on this thing. It sounds to me like you guys have got your T's crossed and your I's dotted here. Phase 1 of this, I don't mind too much. Phase 2, I hate in this PRUD, but that ordinance was in place before we changed it, and so this is all grandfathered in. I understand that, so I'm not going to complain about that any more than I already have. That's just the way it is. So with that, I'm ready for a motion if one of you guys will make it. All I'm waiting for.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
With those conditions as being submitted by Mr. Steve Burton, making sure that those conditions are met prior to recording, I would make the motion that we approve the request for final subdivision approval of Cherokee Farms Number 1, a PRUD subdivision located at 700 North and 3600 West, consisting of 40 lots.
Very good. I have a motion. No second? I'll second that. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay.
There you go. 2-1.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. All right. Item 7 is request for approval of a resolution adopting the operation and capital budgets of the Weber County 2023 calendar year and declaring the Weber County intent to pick up a certain percentage of member contributions to the Utah State Retirement System. Scott Park.
Morning, Commissioners.
Welcome, Scott.
So as you recall, we had a public hearing back in November to receive input on the tentative budget. Since that time, we had a couple of comments, and then we met another time just to make some final tweaks to that tentative budget. And so I just wanted to go over a couple of those tweaks now. We included, between the tentative and the final budget, we've added 3 new grants at our Sheriff's Office, so this is additional revenue and expenditures. We added 1 new position at the Weber County Center of Excellence. We've added some additional money to match a Forest Service project up at the Causey Reservoir. A couple of market adjustments at the animal shelter, some additional equipment maintenance funding for the roads department, and some additional money to improve some trails. So just some few minor tweaks to the 2023 budget. And so with that, we'd submit for you this resolution to approve the 2023 operating and capital budget.
Very good. Questions, Commissioners?
No questions.
No.
All right. I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 50-2022, adopting the operating and capital budget plan for Weber County, as presented by Mr. Park regarding the Utah State Retirement System.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote for Resolution 50-2022. Commissioner Frohr.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye. Very good. It's approved. Thanks, Scott. We appreciate your efforts this year. Okay, we're into public hearing. Request, I need a motion to adjourn this meeting and go into a public hearing.
Motion to adjourn a public meeting, Mr. Chair, and convene as a public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. We are now in a public hearing. All right, the purpose of this public hearing is to discuss amendments to the operating and capital budgets for the Weber County, for the 2022 calendar year. Mr. Scott Park.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, this is just making some final adjustments to the 2022 budget. So you just passed the 2023 budget for next year. This is just a few adjustments to finalize the 2022 budget. Some of this, I'll just go over a couple of the highlights. We received a couple of new grants. We've had some additional overtime required at our transfer station just to make sure that we could continue our operations. Some repairs and improvements to the transfer station to fix the floor, to cover some equipment maintenance, some temporary staffing, plus a couple of other things that you can see outlined, some additional funding needed at the Health Department to get some additional equipment and to finish an improvement to their annex, and then a few other miscellaneous items, some of which are being covered by additional revenues. So you have a summary of those in front of you. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on those changes. If not, I'd ask for, well, yeah, if you have any questions on that.
Questions, commissioners?
No, I think we've know this information pretty well.
No questions.
Very good. I have to agree. We've been over this and over this and over this, and I'm almost glad to see the end of the year come so we can have 6-8 months of breathing time before we start it again. This is truly about a 4-month process.
Yes.
You know, I'd like to make a comment, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. In the nearly 30 years working for Weber County, I don't ever remember a time that I have felt so comfortable in how the budget's being managed. I don't say that for any tap on the back for myself, but I give that credit to our team, to Mr. Park, to your team, but especially all the people who work in Weber County. Crockett, Chris, and Lynn, and Chris, all of them. As a team effort, all those budgets, all those ongoing budgets and those ongoing funds are now in a great place, and we're able to give increases to our employees, and we're able to make some capital improvements and put money away for a rainy day and pay cash and not be required to bond, and all these little check marks, all these little figures. It's no wonder that we have good ratings, you know, in the top 2% of the whole country and fiscally, and I'm introspecting a little bit. It's just, I'm really proud to be associated with this team. I've got a lot of pride in our team, and I'm grateful for what you've done. You know, you put it all together. You're the storyteller. You take all the information and put it together in the book. And there's a thick book you give us.
It's a fascinating read.
Well,
that's right.
Now that's a little over the top. But yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Any other comments? All right. Item 2 on our public hearing is to consider a zoning map amendment and zoning development agreement with the zoning development agreement associated with the rezoning of approximately 242 acres located at approximately 287 west and 2600 north from A1 to A2 and part of the master plan development and overlay zones. With that, Mr. Steve Burton.
Yes, Commissioners, I'm back. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen again from this laptop here. Perfect. So we've got a request from Nilsen Homes to rezone approximately 242 acres to from the A1 and A2 zones to the C2, R2, R3, R110, R112, RE15, and the master plan development overlay zone. I've got 9 slides to show you, and I think I can be pretty brief.
Slide away.
Excellent. Here is a depiction on the left of what's out there right now. You've got A1 and A2, and on the right you've got what the proposal would be if the rezone were approved today. So you've got several zonings that I'm happy to that I'll plan on going over with you. This is just an example, just an image that shows you what the residential development types will generally look like. You've got some single-family lots, you've got some clustered single-family cottages, some attached patio homes, and then also some townhomes, which are the highest density there. The developer is proposing to be, let me go back here real quick, is to be allowed to have 125 townhomes, and they also would like to have 200 attached patio homes, which would leave the remaining 400 units to be detached single-family dwellings on various lot sizes. When considering a rezone, the legislative body...
Steve,
yes.
let me interrupt you. Can you give me those figures again you just give me?
So a total of 725 units.
Right.
125 townhomes.
Okay.
Is included in that. And then of that number, 200 are attached patio homes. And then the remaining would be detached single-family dwellings.
The only reason I question that is 200 attached. In the beginning, we agreed to 100 doors in attached. That's changed.
So this
is the first time I've heard that.
Okay, so this project, it has been in since 2020. There have been a few iterations. Yeah, the proposal would be to have 200 attached patio homes. And we've got the developer here to maybe speak to that a little bit more as well, if you'd like.
Oh, I don't know if I need any more explanation, but it's always been 100 doors. I was very, very explicit on that in the beginning. I've never moved off that one time.
100 attached?
100 doors.
Okay.
Not 100 units.
Got it.
So I'm going to vote to approve this today, but I'm going to make an amendment to change that to 100 doors. All right.
When we look at the rezone request, we should refer to the general plan. Fortunately for us, we've got this brand new general plan adopted a few months ago. On my screen, I've got an image of this area being shown as mixed-use residential and mixed-use commercial, with some open space in the middle, which really what this it is what this proposal is. Here's an image that shows the main open space amenities. So on the right side, you've got a park. It'll be called Christensen Park. It'll have grass fields, a playground, parking area, pickleball, volleyball courts, pavilion, and trails. The image to the left shows you generally the location of the other public trails that are located throughout the development. There's about 45 acres of open space. This image just shows you what's out there right now. It's a fairly recent image. It shows you it's been farmed recently. I think this image shows you pretty well what it likely will look like at build out. So you can see on the left over here, you've got where they're showing the land uses. So you've got around the perimeter, you've got single family detached, the larger lots that fit in more with what's out there in Far West and Plain City. And as you go in more, you've got some townhomes that are in the brown color, and then orange, you've got the attached patio homes. If you wanted to look at their development standards in each of these zones, you can see you've got 15,000 square foot lots in the RE15 zone, 12,000 square foot lots in the R112, 10,000 in the R110. R2 and R3 is 6,000 square foot lots. Over here you can look at building setbacks. They gradually decrease as the lots get smaller, as well as the lot widths. As you consider a rezone, as you already know, no landowner is entitled to receive a rezone to more density. So some things that you should consider. Is how if the proposal is compatible with the surrounding land uses in that area, and how this proposal, if you think it'll positively or negatively impact the health, safety, and welfare of the folks out in this area. Some other considerations are if the proposal complies with the general plan, and if you think if now is the right time in approving something like this. The actions that can be made on a rezone, as you're well aware, are you can approve, you could deny, or you could table one if you have some more things that you'd like to consider and give staff or the applicant direction on that. Our recommendation and the recommendation from the Planning Commission, I'll provide that to you from the staff report. So the staff recommendation on this one is that the County Commission accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission regarding ZMA 2020-03 and ZDA 2022-04. The recommendation is based on the following findings. One, the proposal will not deteriorate the environment of the general area so as to not negatively impact surrounding properties and uses. Two, the development agreement and rezoning application were considered by the legislative body in conformance with Chapter 102-6 of the County Land Use Code. And 3, the final finding is that the proposed development agreement and rezoning application follow the policies of the Western Weber General Plan. I didn't yet speak to the specifics of the development agreement that I think you're familiar with. What this development agreement does is it outlines how the project's going to be developed. It includes concept images like this one that when the developer, if this were to be rezoned, when they submit subdivision applications, we can see how it's all supposed to be laid out and platted. The development agreement also specifies that none of the owners of the property or future owners can protest any annexation into an adjacent city. We'd love for this to become a city, part of a city at some point. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions, commissioners? We've been dealing with this for a long time.
We have. I do have one question. So dealing with the 200 attached housing units, did the Planning Commission have that information? Did they approve it with the 200 or?
The Planning Commission saw 200. Yeah.
Okay.
200 attached patio homes.
Got it. Okay. That's the only question I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, I have no other questions either, so Steve, we'll move to the next item. Next item on the public here is consideration to take action on a request to vacate 10 foot of public utility easement located along the west and north boundary of Lot 4 of Cameron Crossing subdivision. Tammy Adelette.
Good morning,
Tammy,
Commissioners.
thank you for being here.
Sure. This is a request to vacate by ordinance a couple of public utility easements along the northern and western boundaries of Lot 4 in Cameron Crossing subdivision. This is a standard subdivision, so typical lot sizes are at least 40,000 square feet. The property owner is looking to install a shed closer than 10 feet to his rear property boundary, and in order for planning to issue a land use permit, he would need to vacate these public utility easements.
And you've viewed these and have no problem with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions, commissioners?
They've looked at it. I'm comfortable.
No questions. No.
Okay. All right, Tammy.
I
don't
trust
think we have any questions of you. Very good. It's now, we're in our public hearing, so it's now time for the public to comment on any of these items, these three today. So we'd love to have any of you step forward that would like to comment. If you've come here to comment on any of these.
Is it appropriate for me to make comment now?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now.
Public.
Right now.
Yep. So please do come up.
I just wanted to make sure I was leaving time for the public to make comment. My name's Brian Bayless.
You're public, Brian.
1656, also the applicant, right? 1656 Equestrian Parkway, Kaysville, Utah. Commissioners, it's good to be before you today. Gage, started off your comments this morning, kind of reminiscing on the last 4 years that you three have been up there on the stand. You've seen JDC for most of those 4 years. Yeah. We made application, if you'll remember, back in June of 2020. And so we have been working on this project for a very, very long time. And it's justifiable, right? I mean, this is 240 plus acres. It makes sense that something this large and impactful, that's this close to I-15 and provides so much housing opportunities for the Weber County residents that you deserve. It deserves this much time. I've said for a long, long time, man, when you have an opportunity like this to plan a big piece of property, you can amenitize it nicely. And these are the amenities we've put in this project, the amenities that residents want to live in. As you look at what residents enjoy about living in their communities as they do studies on master plan communities and just where people live, they love the open space. As you go on to like Plain City's Facebook page, that's where you get a lot of feedback is, hey, we want parks. We want places for our kids to play. And so we've spent a long time, I guess, studying the project. And I just wanted to, I guess, maybe point out just a few things. Many people in this room and outside of this room have had a huge impact on this plan. This has been a significant compromise from day one. There have been a lot of people. We've gone, yeah. It's just been nobody's gotten everything that they wanted throughout the process, but we feel very strongly that this still is going to be a fantastic community. I think a lot of the staff, and certainly you as commissioners, have had an important role in the project. I really wanted to thank you for your leadership. This has been a tough project, and it's required some leadership, and maybe not always doing the most popular thing with the residents at the time. But staff has also done a great job. Again, they've been difficult and defended the county's positions well. There's been a lot of negotiation that's happened as we've worked through this. We have coordinated at great lengths with our neighboring cities, and in addition, we've waited for the general plan to be completed. Throughout this process, the general plan started and completed, and so we've been waiting and waiting a long time. The market has kind of shifted. You three have seen that. Everybody in this room has seen that. Rates are starting to climb, and the future looks a little different than it did even a few months ago. And so we're here. We're not going anywhere. We've already started north of JDC Ranch as well as kind of south west. We have 100 lots under construction right now that we're building homes on actively. And those are both developments, as you know, those are developments in Plain City right now. So those are kind of phases 1 and phases 2 of JDC. This would be phase 3 that's in the county. Phases 3 through, a long time. But this is a 10-year project. This is a 10-plus year project, and it will be a place for people to call home for generations to come. And so I guess, Scott, to address specifically your question about the attached product, our plan has not changed significantly for probably about 18 months. From the first Planning Commission meeting that I think we had in, I want to say, October of 2020, it has not changed significantly from that time. The feedback that we got clearly as we spoke with some of the adjoining municipalities is, hey, we're having a hard time with this attached product. And it was very clear as we had that conversation, and hopefully you'll remember and that you were involved in some of those conversations, was, hey, the townhomes are our concern. And so we limited those to that set number that you're talking about. On the flip side, there's an attached patio, and Steve kind of showed it Steve showed it there. It's 4 homes front to back. It's all single level living, and there's 200 of those. And one of the reasons why that was important is that we had the 200 attached product. Steve, I'm not sure how to show that on the screen, the big screen. Okay. So if you can see, commissioners, on the bottom left-hand exhibit, you see there, that's what those attached patio homes will look like. So there are 4 homes attached. They're front to back. So there's 2 in the front, 2 in the back. None of the garages are facing the road. They're all tucked back up where those little indents are located. And that's really the adjoining wall where those 4 units connect. Those are the garages. So as we had this conversation, 725 units spread across the 236 acres that we've got. If you don't have some clustered areas of smaller units of those townhomes and the attached patio homes, you essentially shrink the overall lot size significantly if you just spread 725 units and divide it by the 236 acres. And so as we had conversations, it felt like the feedback that we received was, well, if you clustered the townhomes to stick to that 125 units, and then if you'll cluster those patio homes, which again are kind of age focused, they're single level living, there's no basements, there's no 2 stories, they're all kind of single level living, then that's a good compromise in order to kind of shrink down some of the lot sizes so that on the periphery of the subdivision and adjacent to existing homes, we're able to increase those lot sizes. Because if we couldn't do that, if we just took 725 units and divided that by the total number of acres, the average lot size would be like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, which was not ideal. I don't think anybody here wants that, is to have a sea of 3,000 square foot lots. And so the reason, if you'll recall, Commissioner Jenkins, was getting those 200 attached patios. Again, that's been part of the plan for about 18 months, but it really was to allow the larger lots on the periphery where, the major transportation routes are, where people will see, so that we could cluster those subdivisions, or cluster those units. And as you look at the different development patterns that we show here, the brown are the patio, or the townhomes. So the brown that you see there, those are the 125 townhomes. And then the orange, that's where the attached patios would be located. And we felt like clustering those around the open space. Yes,
Excuse
Jim.
me.
Brian is colorblind.
Got it. Sorry, Jim.
It's this in here, and this here, and this, and this.
That's brown?
Well, it's kind of
What
a
color is this?
mustard.
Close to brown.
It's close to brown. When you say brown, is it the olive green or the mustard?
It's if you've got the main park in the middle there, it's just to the right,
Yeah, it's to the right side.
and then it's the one, if you see the soccer
Okay,
field,
it's
it's just to the
olive green.
left.
Okay.
So those are the two pockets
We're
of
with you
brown.
now.
And then the orange, Jim, I appreciate your question. That's a good question. And then the orange color, which again is
I
located.
call that mustard.
Okay, mustard. The mustard color is located north of the open space park and then kind of south of those soccer fields there.
The what?
The mustard are the attached patios. Those are those.
All patios.
Those are those four.
And
Four.
the townhouses are
On the brown.
Mouse that again.
In the brown.
Mouse the map brown again.
This mouse is a little lagging, but
Okay.
it's right.
there.
So right there is the brown, and then this color as well. So it's located kind of in transition, Jim, from the commercial, the commercial to the, which is the red along 2600 North, and so as well as kind of next to the open spaces. Those folks don't have as big a yards, so we wanted to put that next to the open spaces and in those transition areas. So. Anyway, that's the reason why. Again, if we were just to take 725 units divided by the 236 acres, you'd have very small lots on the entirety, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted to have a variety. So having those townhomes, the attached patios, and then the different sized single-family lots allows us that variety that is important as you do these master plan communities. So Scott, hopefully. Again, we've had this conversation multiple times. Hopefully that doesn't throw you off, and hopefully, yeah, they're not attached. They're just those attached patios. They are attached, but they're the attached patios. They're not townhomes.
You know, Brian, you guys, I got to be careful what I say here. In this whole thing, there's so much stuff that's thrown around, and we're talking, and we're here, and we're there, but never at any time have I agreed to more than 100 doors of attached product. Never have. And so I understand as you come in and say, well, we're going to put this here and we're going to put this here. You know, you're at a very high level when you look at that, and we have no problem with you putting this in there. But
yeah,
when it comes down to numbers, I'm not aware of one time you've come in and said, okay, we want to double that amount of attached doors in numbers. And I'm telling you, Brian, that's what I agreed to in the beginning.
Yeah.
Very specifically, and nothing's changed in my mind since then.
Yeah.
I've agreed to it, and I'm going to stick to it.
The impact of that, Jim, Scott, would
Okay.
be to shrink the larger lots on the periphery of the subdivision significantly. So we can get, the attached patios are quite a bit higher density, and we've clustered those in areas that makes the most sense. And so if we did that, we would have to shrink the overall lot size just to fit 725 units, just to fit them on there. And I guess that's not something that we've heard from the county as being important. We've wanted to have a variety of lot sizes. And again, yeah. So I guess this is, surprising for me to get this message this late in the game, Scott. So I'm sorry that didn't come up as clearly as maybe it should have. I think that the townhomes are the concern that as I've spoken with, definitely neighboring cities. I think the townhomes have been the concern, and that is something that we have committed to. That 100, we got it to 125 because again, in order to have the large lots on the periphery and to have the amount of open space that we've identified, you had to kind of consolidate some of those units to make this all work. So that's the reason why we've done it, is to provide the open space and to have the large lots. Otherwise, the average lot size gets very, very small.
Well, so for today, I mean, you're going to get an approval here, but there's going to be a limit of 100 doors.
We can't, that won't work, Scott, for us.
Well, then we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. At least,
Yeah.
well,
A lot of the open spaces are
you
contingent.
get two other votes here. We've had 1 2-1 today. One more won't hurt.
Sometimes it goes that way.
Sometimes it goes that way.
A lot of those open spaces have been contingent, as you can imagine, right? The open space are the
Right.
costs, and they're definitely contingent on the plan that we've had for the last 18 months or so.
Question.
Yes,
Mr.
Go
Chair.
ahead.
With the patio home, the patio homes out by where I live and those patio homes that are in Plain City,
Very nice.
Oh, without question. That's not my question, though. The patio homes, are there, I don't know the flowery word for this. Covenant? Are there something that says, most of the folks in the patio homes, they're 50 or 55 and older. It's a community of, what is that called when you say that's a community of 55 and older?
Elderly housing.
Okay, but
Age restricted.
oh, we could say all those things, senior, but are there covenants that say can anybody,
55 and older.
I mean, I'm in that classification now, but could somebody 40 years old go buy one of those patio homes in a senior community?
This kind of depends on the restrictions that are put in when they do what Brian's doing right now.
Yeah. So we Jim, just anecdotally, we drove Green Farm several months ago on a tour with some folks that you were there.
Yeah.
We drove through Green Farm, and we've built patio homes very similar to this. Single level. There's no two-story. There's no basements. They're 2,100 to 2,500 square feet.
Sure.
I think we have, of the 140 roughly patio homes that are built out there, we have about 2 that are younger than that, 55. So occasionally, if it's a recently divorced parent with kids that doesn't need as much space, and they're looking to have something that's maybe a little bit more affordable, they'll look at buying one of those.
But there's
as a
no
larger
covenant,
house.
or there's no
There's
covenants or anything else that says that.
There's no covenants in that location, but that's certainly something that we could implement in this subdivision if that was something that the commissioners felt
The other
strongly
question
about.
I have is, we see this view and this vision. What's to prevent Nilsson Homes from selling this, once it's all approved, what's to prevent them from selling it, and then another developer coming in and doing something else, turning the 4 attached patio homes into 4 multi-level,
Well, it's in the development agreement, right? So they won't be able to vary from that. Once this is approved, that's what they'll have to build.
Development agreement, great.
So the development agreement, Jim, runs with the land, and it's independent of who the developer is.
You know,
So-
it's so wonderful to be able to learn. That's the best thing I've loved about this job is there's so much learning that goes on from just a simple guy that's at Weber State, and I don't. This is all wonderful information. Thank you. I'll get the language. It's still taking me a little time.
What I can tell you, Jim, is you have unbelievable staff. Liam has been great on the legal side, and your planning staff, Charlie and Steve and Rick, they have been fantastic to really kind of ardently and zealously protect the county's rights. Because the last thing that you want, the last thing that you as the county want, is for us to go through all of this work, this brain damage, lay out this great plan, and then for it to change down the road, which cannot happen.
That's another thing too. As I look at just in general, I love it when people, especially developers, can respect the staff and the process and all of them, and be kind and genuine with people, and those that aren't, I have a real hard time with. I mean, it's a feeling. I can't support it. I like people who respect other people. So, and I've not heard anything negative about you as far as the process goes. Appreciate his comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one more thought to add. I guess as we stood before the Planning Commission, it was, I think, in September. Yeah, it was September 13th. So as we stood before the Planning Commission, it was a 7-0 vote, which, again, based on the staff's recommendation and the Planning Commission's vote, hopefully that bodes well for us in terms of how the county perceives some of these elements. Obviously, you have to make your own discretion and judgments. But it was interesting. 3 of the Planning Commission members spoke strongly in favor of the project. Andrew Ariati, I just pulled the notes just a moment ago, said that this is a great development. It's a great layout. Congratulations to Nilsson Homes. It's a place I'd like to live. But the one that really struck me was Commissioner Wichern. She was fairly new, I think, at the time. At least that was my impression.
Wichern.
I'm sorry. Thank
No
you
problem.
for the correction, Jim. But she was fairly new, and she said that she'd actually received a few online comments with people that were concerned that, in her words, that we will have riffraff coming into this area in the smaller homes. And it was really interesting. She kind of brought that up and just hit it right on the head. And she said, look, I was that riffraff at one point in my life. We moved into a subdivision where we bought those townhomes. And we were the riffraff. I was the riffraff. My family was the riffraff. And we weren't riffraff at all. We added to our community. And she said, the results of those smaller homes really are important, because then you can have these open spaces. As you shrink the size of some of those homes, you have open spaces that she said, our family didn't have the wherewithal to put in a basketball court or to have a pickleball court or to have some of these open spaces. And she said to be able to be in close proximity to some of those amenities was a great blessing for her and her family. And she said, I was really frankly grateful that the county had the vision to, consolidate some of these homes in order to provide that open space. And I thought it was really interesting.
Let me just interrupt. Her grandfather ran the Plain City Dairy Days, Lynn Richards said, for more than a decade, out there in the early to middle 1900s. So that's a perfect example of
and I think she even
austerity.
I think she brought that up, saying, look, these are smaller homes that have been built that provides me a place to live, and it provides they remain nice. Bad things did not happen. They will be more affordable, and the developer has made concessions with the residents in mind. That was kind of her feedback. So we are, I guess, I'd be happy to address any questions or concerns, but I think, we've been at this for a very long time, and we are hopeful that we can walk away with a 3-0 vote in support of the project. Obviously today, that would be our request. But we want to get going this spring. It's important that we be ready to hit the ground running. And one other comment that I will just make in passing, that there were a few, the latest redlined development agreement didn't make it into the packet. Steve, I don't know if you saw that, but there were a few minor, Steve kind of said that these were minor tweaks to kind of change some legal descriptions, some other things, but they were textual, they weren't significant, and that is what we're asking for approval on, is that amended, that revised development agreement. Did I get that right, Steve? So it was a version from a couple of days ago, and we made a few tweaks to accommodate some of staff's concerns and questions. With that, I'll be quiet, and I'd love to address any questions or concerns that you all have.
Questions, commissioners?
Yeah, question. So the first has to do with affordability. What's your average purchase price and a sales price going to be out here?
I would say that we'll range. I could give you a range, because
give us a range.
Yeah, some of it's going to depend on exactly how many of each unit we have, and so I would say the range is going to be on the lower end. Our hope is to be on some of these product types that we're proposing. If we were to sell those today with no additional changes in the market, I would hope to be in the high 3s. That's our hope. We would have some very small lots, single-family detached, and the townhomes would be in that kind of range, high 3s, low 4s. On the higher end, we'll have some half-acre lots out here on that far west-hand side of the project, and our hope would be that we'd be pushing $1 million. So as you look at master plan communities, that's the value to the county of having these master plan communities, is you have a wide range of residents at all different kind of socioeconomic levels.
Okay. So my comments on this, Mr. Chair, I've always looked at the total number of units, which I think has been consistent at 725.
Correct.
I've supported the vision of having the larger lots on the outside, as we have kind of a border for those existing surrounding homes. Gives them a feel for larger lots, and to put the interior lots obviously in smaller lot sizes. So I would just, in concept, I thought we were pretty bold as we took a step outside of what a lot of cities and counties are doing, which is looking at affordable housing when we pass the general plan. Right now, the state is taking a very serious look at mandating certain requirements for affordable housing. So it's more important for me to look at the future of our kids and grandkids, and do they have the ability to purchase a home? And it's not going to happen on a half-acre lot. We know that.
Right.
We've taken a lot of heat. I've taken a lot of heat, and you two have as well, from people out there that saying, look, you're creating these smaller subdivisions. All you're doing is inviting people from California into our county. Well, look at the latest stats. Again, it's a fact that Weber County grew by 1% this past year, 2,700 people. Of that 2,700 people, just about half were our own grandkids. In other words, it was internal growth. So when we say, let's keep the people from California, let's be careful who we keep out, because we're keeping our kids and grandkids from living here, and therefore, if they can't live here, they can't get jobs here. So I'm very, very aware that economic development and affordable housing is key to the future of our kids and grandkids, and it's a future to this county. If we encourage companies to come in, one thing they all require is housing. And they look at affordable housing, because a lot of those people coming in are not $150,000, $200,000 a job or a year payroll. So I probably have more comfort level looking at the 725, looking at keeping the larger lots around and keeping your interior as you propose. So I'm really not struggling with that concept.
And I think it helps also, Gage, just to add what you're saying, the commercial. I don't think you can underscore the commercial enough. I mean, our hope is, and some of the flexibility that we have in the development agreement, Jim, is to allow that. I think we have about 17 acres of commercial right now, and our hope is that we could expand that, or we have the potential to expand that as the development occurs.
Right.
So as we get more rooftops in the area, as we get more traffic on 2600 South or 2600 North, again, our hope is that those rooftops and that socioeconomic diversity helps on the commercial side as well.
Great, thank you. Brian? You didn't have any other
No other
questions?
comments. Thank you,
Good,
Mr. Chair.
appreciate that. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to comment? Right now is your time. All right, we're ready to close this public hearing and go to the next level, so I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we adjourn our public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
Okay, I have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now back to our regular meeting. Why don't we go ahead and work our way through these, however you'd like to do it. Why don't we start with H4? That's easy.
H4 or H2?
Whichever you want to.
Well,
But
it's up to you. You're the chair. I'll do whatever you ask me to do.
I don't care.
Okay.
You're the guy making the motion.
Well, I'll make it, since you called for H4 and there's not a lot of weeks left. I'll go ahead and we'll approve ordinance. I'm looking for a request for approval to vacate the 10-foot public utility easement as presented by Ms. Adelot. Ordinance 2022-29, I'll make a recommendation that we approve that Cameron Crossing subdivision vacation of easement.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call. Craig?
Roll call vote for ordinance 2022-28.
Aye? Oh, wait. Well,
Sorry,
calling
that is 29.
Yeah, 29.
That's
29.
29.
Apologies. Commissioner Four.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye. Very good. That one's done.
Wow, that was easy.
Wow.
I'm ready for one more motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd go to H2,
Okay?
and I would move to approve the request for a resolution amending the operating and capital budget at Weber County for the 2022 calendar year. That would be Resolution 51-2022.
Very good. I have a motion
Second?
and a second. Craig?
Roll call vote for resolution 51-2022. Commissioner Four.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye. Very good. That leaves us down to H3. So I want to use my prerogative here a little bit and make a motion that we amend the development agreement on H3 on this JDC ranch to put a limit of 100 doors on attached units. That's the way I understood it, and be that my mistake or your mistake, I really don't know. But in my mind and what I've done, I've never varied from that from the very beginning, the various comments we'd made. So I simply want to know if I can get a second on that to amend that. Doesn't look like it. Okay, then how about a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
You know, I respect so much all those decades of service, and I mean this genuinely. The planning commissions, the mayors, the helping build out Plain City. I respect you a great deal. And in keeping with what you said, I want to make a motion that we have 100 doors in townhomes in townhomes, and then the other 100 doors to be in patio homes.
200, Jim.
So there'd be 300 attached units?
Yeah, 100 attached patios, or 200 attached patios and 100 townhomes.
In the 200 patio homes, they're attached 4 to the,
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yes, you've
I've
seen
actually
that.
seen those. There's a couple of those out our way, and they're really nice.
yeah, so that'll be 1,000 attached doors.
No, that's
Huh?
300.
200 times 4,
No,
we're talking doors
we're
now.
talking doors, not buildings.
It's 200 units.
200 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, units of
There'd
4.
be 50 fourplexes, 200 doors.
50 fourplexes of patio homes.
So 200 doors.
200 total attached patio doors, not units.
Yeah, doors.
So 50 units, 200 doors, and then on the.
When you say 50 units, the fourplex is a unit.
Yeah, so it'd be 50 times 4, which is the 200.
Okay.
Well, so listen, so 100 townhomes max. I'm at 100 townhomes max.
Okay.
And then the other 200 can be the patio homes. I like that product. And then to not go over some of the other recommendations as by staff, but those would be my recommendation. And that we would have, and this is a stretch for me, because I've been the no vote for a long time, that we approve the JDC Ranch, the 242 acres.
Okay, and that's where it's at. That's what it's written, right, Steve?
So how does that differ from what the proposal
It's
is?
the 725, still the no
Yeah,
more
so
than that.
725.
Commissioners, I would actually recommend if you're considering changing the number of detached or attached or anything, to actually table so that we can bring something back that's agreeable between the developer and the county. So that way we're not doing a conditional rezone. I would actually just recommend that you table
I agree
and
with that.
revisit in that case if you're not ready to approve what's being proposed.
Well, I was ready for that motion, but
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
I'll make just a second, Mr. Chair, if I can have the floor
Yeah, you
first.
still got it.
I'll withdraw my motion to support staff on that recommendation, but you know how I'm leaning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Brian, go ahead. You wanted to.
Yeah, we've just been working on this so long. I guess if Steve's suggestion is to defer, I guess, or to provide some deference to us, I'm saying we'll take it. We'll take 100 attached townhomes,
100 doors.
100 doors.
25 buildings.
25 buildings. And then we have the 50 attached patios, 200 units for the attached patios. That would be our preference. I just know that time is of the essence, and I don't think there's a meeting next week, and then the holidays are here. So if Steve's doing that because of us, I think we've got the flexibility in the development agreement, the way that it's drafted, to account for that, and we would just update the ordinance. My only request would be, Jim, that you include the revised development agreement, not the one that's in your current.
I can't do that at this time because I haven't seen it.
Report.
Thank
Okay.
There is a meeting next week, by the way.
Got a meeting next week.
But it wouldn't be we have a work session next week, but this doesn't give us time to talk in the work session and then to notice the meeting correctly per state law. And so that's,
Yeah, it does. Give
No.
them time to do that.
24 hours.
Chris, do they have to meet again for the public hearing if they've already had this discussion?
No.
Yeah, we've had the public hearing.
You don't have to have the hearing again.
Well, we could put it on the agenda right now.
Right, you could always remove it from the agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to find a way to say,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we table agenda item H3 ordinance 2022-28 until next week, if we can come to some type of agreement. I think that this needs to be discussed with staff, and we need to look at that revised development agreement. I think there's a couple of things that we need to see before I'm comfortable with it
I agree
anyway.
with that.
if the motion is to table until next week,
Time certain.
time certain, I'll second that.
I'm
Very
certain
good.
next
Have a
week.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, that's tabled. All right, Commissioner comments. Now's the time. You run out of the times to comment before now and the end of the year.
Wow.
Maybe it's time you give a little comment.
I don't have comments.
I didn't, Well, maybe it's time.
So do you have anything you want to bring up, Commissioner?
No.
Commissioner Forrest?
Well, I mentioned this to you earlier, Commissioner Jenkins, is that I'm just darn happy about this snowfall. Even though for 2 days in a row, I've been out on my driveway, snow blowing snow, which hasn't happened for a number of years. So even though I get out there and wonder what the heck I'm doing, I'm happy that I'm doing it.
I agree with that.
Now, if I have to keep doing this for the next 2 months, I'll be happy in some ways, but when you get up at 5:30 in the morning, I won't be that happy all the time.
I just have a question for the both of you.
Hey, let me make one comment.
From?
Question. I can remember when Commissioner Forrest used to get up and
That's
power the walks and be at the gym at 5:15.
That's true, yeah.
I can remember, and you didn't do it just once or twice.
I did a lot. That was my younger days. Younger days.
As we found out in the earlier commission meeting, being the odd man out here.
The only one that got 2 to 1 today.
How's that locker working out for both of you? That's my call.
That's great.
There we go. That's all I got to say.
All right,
Okay.
motion to adjourn, anybody?
So move.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. The meeting's over.